My name is Evergreen Herricks. I'm the PA for the Depth Psychology with Integrative Therapy and Healing Practices specialization. And I'm just going to be introducing a few of our company. All right. First, I welcome Dr. Joe Cambray, the Pacifica president, to offer some comments. Joe, do you want to come on over and just grab that?
Well, thank you, Evergreen, and everyone else. This is really a very important embodied ecological experience. And I wanted to just say a little bit about some thoughts about trees and tree symbolism and so forth, because there's a very long history of the whole death and rebirth symbolism that's associated with trees that I believe is kind of the archetypal background for what we're doing here. And it's a way of collectively grieving what our whole society and really our whole world has gone through in the last year and a half. And we felt it very acutely because Pacifica's doors have been closed. We've been completely virtual for the last year and a half now. And, there's a glimmer of reopening on the horizon. We'll have to see how that rebirth manifests itself. But let me say a few things about the tree. The idea of a tree absorbing grief and absorbing illness is a very old and profound folk belief. Freud actually came up with the idea of transference, the notion of transference in psychoanalysis, based on the Hungarian illness trees. What people would do is they would tie rags from a sick person onto the tree, and usually there was a ritual saying something like, "Twig, I bind thee, now fever leave me," things like that, and it would transfer into the tree, not to injure the tree, but it was as if the tree, because it was an axis between heaven and earth, could metabolize these kinds of things and really produce a transformation in the emotional and psychic bodies of the people. Now, for Freud, this was a world of superstition, unfortunately, and he didn't fully grasp the indigenous meaning of these traditions. Jung, as a kind of next step in the road, saw it much more symbolically. He talked about a tree of life and death. He had an essay called The Philosophical Tree, and he began to understand that it wasn't about a philosophical or psychological reduction to a belief in terms of a cognitive process, but rather it was a deep mystery in the psyche. And today I would say we could go a step further and look at that symbolism in the way it expresses itself in nature, the kind of ecological dimensions of this that does get us into the world of interconnectedness. And it does bring back these indigenous traditions that had so much wisdom about those kind of traditions. And so then we think about the silkworm, and it spins a cocoon, so it's very much like the images of Psyche, the transformation of the caterpillar into the butterfly. Here it's a moth, and that moth had when it spins its cocoon, it's one strand that's about a mile long. It's just amazing. And why I'm going with that for just a moment is because in Chinese mythology, which is one of the main mythologies of the mulberry tree and silkworms, it goes back to the very first emperor, the Yellow Emperor Hong Di, who is supposed to have begun to appreciate the qualities of the mulberry tree when he was being chased up one by a tiger, and he used the branches to make a bow. For a bow and arrow to defend himself, and so drove the tiger away. And then his wife, Li Su, is the first person to begin to use the threads of the cocoon to make silk. She is seen as the archetypal weaver of this in China. And so what a wonderfully appropriate tree. And then it traveled the Silk Road, of course, and this was one of the great secrets of the Middle Age. Where did silk come from? This was a very sort of well-kept secret, but gradually made its way to the West, where that fabric was so appreciated. So in the spirit of this death and rebirth, I wanted to end with a short part of a poem. This poem comes from Kwame Alexander. He's the NPR poet in residence. And back last April, he did a crowdsourced poem. What he did is he took the work of a woman, Nancy Cross Dunham. She's a poet, and she had a poem that was what I'm learning about grief. And what he said to the audience, this was on NPR, if you want to contribute, use that as your starting line, and then send in your contribution. And then he put together a poem that has 33 contributors and 21 stanzas. So I won't take you through all of that, but I'll read the last two, because the very last line is the title of the poem, which I thought was moving and connected. So the last two. What am I learning about grief? Is to acknowledge its presence, its many forms and guises, then to use it, while reaching out, connected to everyone who is braving the same storm. What am I learning about grief? Is that it is still learning about me, learning that I am strong and resilient. And the last line now, if the trees can keep dancing, so can I. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cambray. Beautiful. Hisan. I want to introduce to you Hisan Kim, who is one of our PhD students in the depth program. This is a project that she has done a number of times in a number of contexts, and this is our second time here. And she's going to be carrying this work forward in her dissertation work in Korea, South Korea. So, Hee-sun Kim. Thank you.
Thank you, Evergreen. Thank you, everyone. As the Grieving Tree week concludes tonight, I cannot find enough words to express my gratitude to so many people. Although I initiate this project, it would have been impossible without your generous support and illuminating loving hearts. I sincerely appreciate the Pacifica Graduate Institute community, Dr. Cambray, and also Dr. Juliet Rhodes Brown, your great support and inspiration. I also want to say thanks Marshall Krostovsky and Raul Paredes, our garden keepers here at Pacifica, who planted this mulberry tree 26 years ago. And then they have nurtured it with love and care since then. Tonight, I would like to introduce Kathleen DeLong, one of the inspiring teachers at the Art of Dying Institute in New York City. She is a music thanatologist, hospice chaplain, and end-of-life educator. She has recently written a piece of music as a healing offering performed at the site of Bear River Massacre in Idaho, where upwards of 400 innocent Shoshone people were killed in 1863. Kathleen's great-grandfather was responsible for leading 60 families to colonize the southern Idaho area that was the wintering ground for several Shoshone groups. One of the Shoshone chiefs survived, and his great-great-grandson was at the massacre site with Kathleen to honor the dead and the land claimed by Kathleen's ancestors. She said it had been a painful experience to see and feel the gravity of this tragedy, but it was also profoundly healing to put her grief into musical form. Kathleen could not come here today, but sent us her recording from Salt Lake City. Here is her recording. The title of the song is Granddaughter's Lament.
Next, I'm going to introduce Dr. Juliette Rody Brown. Juliette is the chair of the Depth Psychology with Integrative Therapy and Healing Practices specialization. And she's going to introduce even more people. So here's Juliette.
Thank you, Evergreen. Well, as we are standing here at this closing ceremony and we're taking these moments to share feelings of loving kindness, of care for each other, for our loved ones, those who've experienced loss, may we expand this circle of care even to those we've never met, to those miles and oceans away, and put our place in care for their well-being, for your well-being, all of you joining us, for all of our well-being. Over 32 countries have joined our virtual time together, and intentions travel far and in subtle ways. As the late meditation teacher Stephen Levine wrote, quote, "And the song made its way through the forests and down the alleys, healing its way through the hopelessness and offering a harmonic to the confident luminosity of the original heart," unquote. As we stand here at the receiving and giving heart of this mulberry tree, we wish to let you know that we hear you, that we hear all of you across the globe. We're listening. And our faculty member, Dr. Industri Rajan, will share a message for her homeland in India, and she'll do so in the languages of Tamil and Hindi. And our doctoral student, Kai Cavalhais, will share a message for those in her homeland of Brazil in the Portuguese language. And these are two countries, among others, of course, that have been hit very hard by the illness and the losses during this time. So we will take a moment to read Industri's message in English first, and then watch a video of her sharing her message in the two main languages of India, which will be plugged into this. Here are her words. I quote, "Over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've been reminded of our humanity and the fragility of our existence. There has been great pain, suffering, and loss all over the world. Children have lost their parents, parents their children, and so many spouses have passed from this world to the next without being able to receive the comfort of their hand being held by their husbands or wives, without the exchange of treasured last words. Hearts broken, lives torn asunder. We have waited, watched, and hoped, often feeling powerless and alone. The Grieving Tree project is a beautiful way of remembering and honoring the precious souls who have been claimed by COVID-19. And by gathering together and sharing our tears and our remembrances, we have the opportunity to hold healing space together. May the beauty and love of this sacred day live on in our hearts and minds, and may this grieving process bless all who yield to it with healing and peace." Unquote.
नमस्ते। भारत में जीवन और परिवारन के दुखद नुकसान पर चिंतन करते हुए हेमन दुख होता है। उपचार के लिए हमारा आशीर्वाद और प्रार्थना आप आपके साथ है। வணக்கம். துன்பம் மரும் இருந்த குடும்பங்கள் மரும். குடும்பங்களை வர நான் மிகவும் வருத்தமாக இருக்கிறேன். துகட்டிலும் நினைவிலும் அன்பும் நம்பிக்கையும் கடவுளின் பிரகணமும் இருக்கிறது.
And now I would like to introduce you to our doctoral student, Kai Cavalhais, and she will speak to her homeland of Brazil. Thank you.
I'm Kai Cavalhais. I'm honored to be invited here today at Pacifica's land by the mulberry beautiful Grieving Tree to speak in the name of a nation that has been grieving since the beginning of the pandemic, the Brazilian nation. Thank you, Resum, for inviting me here. I was informed by my family today, which most of them work in the health system in Brazil, that coronavirus has infected 17 million people and 451 people died from the virus. The second tally in the world. Every day, around 2,216 people die from COVID in Brazil because of the negligence of the government authorities to take steps to prevent and treat this terrible disease. The health system in Brazil is chaotic, and there are not beds, ventilators, and anesthesia for intubation available in the hospitals. In my country of Orange, 13 million people have been vaccinated, but 210 million are still waiting to access the vaccine. I'm lucky because I live in Santa Barbara and I am vaccinated. My heart is grieving for all the lives lost and the ones that will be lost there. Meu coração chora pelas vidas que foram perdidas no Brasil e as que ainda vão ser perdidas lá. I did not know that I was going to speak today here, but Psyche already knew. I would like to share with you a vision, if I may, a numinous experience that happened with me 4 days ago. It's important to mention that I have been attending a class here at Pacifica with Dr. Brewster called The Feminine Body. And I have been writing about Iemanjá, the Brazilian archetypal mother of the sea, Mãe Iemanjá. I was in a hypnagogic state between sleeping and awake when I had these visions like short movies, and I saw sea waves, deep waters of the ocean, waves break on the sand. This experience took place for 3.5 hours that night. Using a phenomenological approach, I could feel the intensity of the ocean waters. If I may, the intensity of Iemanjá's energy. Iemanjá is the most important feminine deity in Brazil. At the end of the year, people reunite in beaches and rivers to greet the new year and celebrate Iemanjá. giving her gifts for protection and attendance of their prayers. The worshippers take offerings carved with wishes and requests for the new year to rivers or the ocean, place them inside of little boats, and release them into the waters, the house of Iemanjá. I had the opportunity to watch and experience the power of many of these ceremonies when I was living in Brazil. Iemanjá has a fierce, nurturing, gentle energy, often associated with the boom and sorcery. As the mother of all, she is said to help in matters of self-love, fertility, emotional wounds, trauma, and healing work. She is very significant for the Brazilian population and for me as a healer and a depth psychologist. I believe that Iemanjá energy was present during my experience 4 nights ago to guide my attention to the power of the healing waters of the ocean, and my awareness of tonight's ceremony to ask for the protection of the Brazilian population. Moreover, Brazilians have been experiencing trauma through millions of coronavirus expositions and deaths. Through the lenses of the depth psychological approach and healing practices, we know that energy gets stuck in the body when they are not able to be processed and moved. Collective rituals and ceremonies create the space for healing, grieving, and release of these energies. At this moment, I ask all of you here present to close your eyes and imagine, sense, or feel Iemanjá, healing energy from the waters of the oceans, and individually and collectively send healing energy to the population of my beloved Brazil. Iemanjá, elevo meu pensamento a ti, me conectando com sua energia de cura e proteção vindo das águas oceânicas, e peço para que todos os espíritos do bem venham em auxílio, beneficiando a sofrida população brasileira que necessita dessa intervenção durante esses momentos de tanta dor. Nossos corações estão unidos aos seus. Our hearts are connected to yours. Obrigada. Amém. Thank you.
Now we are going to have some music accompanied by some readings of a few of the notes that have been contributed for the tree. Our musician is Santiago. Pardon me, I just combined his names. Santos Artiago Reyes. Santos is our amazing audiovisual manager here at Pacifica, also a musician and a filmmaker. And while he plays, we'll have some readings of those offerings.
A tribute to all who lost their lives in the pandemic. I know you all have contributed so much to heal in your own ways. It's always sad to know the precious lives have gone so fast. I know you all are around. We cannot see you with naked eyes, but we can still feel your every moment. May all your soul rest in eternal peace. Pranam.
Dear love, may you send love and care to the beautiful persons that had to leave Earth for some other missions and help us heal. Thinking of Leonard Cravero, of Connor Thompson, of Alfredo Ferri, Gianfranco Giorgiosi, Giuseppe Camerini, Marco Quell, Frank Floyd, George, Inoni, Zia Pinza, tutti gli zii e parenti, la mamma di Sima e di Lilia, il papa di Stefano, Luca Pellegrini, Nilo Pedreira, Alessandro Figlio di Chiara, and all the others. Gratitude. Thank you, love.
I will forever hold you with love in my heart. Never again will you be forgotten.
I don't know. They're fine there. I want to introduce Art Cisneros, who is our wonderful in-residence elder. Art is a Chumash member and has blessed us so many times with his words. I think we have a song.
Thank you so much for the invitation to share with the world this wonderful moment. We are also, if I understand it correctly, celebrating the end of one dark time and the beginning of a hopeful time. There will be help going to Brazil and everyone else that is suffering in the moment. I had originally planned a song of hope. As we well know, and I heard the story that was being repeated a little while ago about an indigenous group that had suffered great loss and the healing that is occasioned because of that. I would like to dedicate this song to my own people from this place. It's been 300 years or 400 years since the first people came with a different understanding of the world. And there has been very much miscommunication since then about why we're here on our wonderful Mother Earth. And it's certainly not to use her skin and all the resources that have been determined by law to be able to be owned, which is, again, a trauma that we are trying to resolve. So this song is a song of hope. I've been here and I'm still resilient enough to wish to participate with all of you in bringing attention to our intimate connection to our Mother, the Earth. When we began the ceremony, I asked everyone to make sure you can touch the ground. We have a virtual reality, and then we have reality itself. I've been told that we are not only intimately connected to our Mother, we are in this moment, everyone on the planet is standing on her. We have a connection physically with each other through this wonderful Mother. So this song is a blessing on the earth and everyone who lives here with us, each other, and these wonderful trees that help to bring life to us through each breath. I like to think that I measure my life one breath at a time. So thank you to the trees for providing this wonderful symbiotic relationship that keeps us here. So the song is a contemporary song. That is, so much information was lost when the new people came here to influence a different understanding. The blessing comes from a manifestation of the spirit in our tradition. Everyone's across the world understands that the eagle is a representation of the highest order of spiritual world. It's just comforting to know that it's there. Here in the Chumash territories, there is another little bird that this song was inspired by. That is the red-tailed hawk. This song was created recently in my lifetime on the reservation on the other side of that mountain. And this song tells the story of how the natural world blesses us every day. And so if you can imagine a red-tailed hawk coming over the hillside, and it showers its blessings when it is extended, and you'll see it fluttering, blessing the world. And so you'll hear that in the song. For all the people in the world. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Takapa wachilik, a choho watu. Yawa kiwa nawa, yawa kiwa nawa. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Takapa wachilik, a choho watu. Yawa kiwa nawa, yawa kiwa nawa. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Takapa wachilik, a choho watu. Yawa kiwa nawa, yawa kiwa nawa. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Tassen hele, haku tekale. Ho, Kwame, may it please you. Sumasumako. Blessings of health and happiness to everyone that can listen to my voice and feel my energy coming through the planet up to you wherever you are. Remember, you're like a little conduit through which the love and the light from the heavens and the earth passes. Use that knowledge to help heal yourself and to heal each other. We can do it. Kweme. No. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I feel very wealthy right now. We're so pleased to have here Sojourner Kincaid Roll. She's the 6th Poet Laureate of Santa Barbara, not current, but always will be the Poet Laureate. And we're so happy to have her here. Hope it's not the last time. And Sojourner has a poem for us, of course.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. You know, I have a poem for you. I have some comments for you. As we have been experiencing this pandemic and all of the uh, the news of all of the thousands and thousands of souls that have succumbed to this plague that has come among us, I have often thought of what is the world being in grief everywhere that people are grieving. And there have been other disasters that have happened over the last 10, 15, 20 years where masses of people have died. And I've always thought about all of the grief that is on the planet from people losing their loved ones, whether from disease or violence um, or whatever befalls them. That one death or many deaths, each one is special, and each one causes grief. And I'm always thinking about that. And so this past year, of course, I have been especially concerned with, just the sadness that so many people have been experiencing. And I think that what comes from it is our focus on what that person who has passed away has contributed to the world, what they have contributed in the long or short life that they have lived. And so I think that is where we get comfort, is in remembering the good and all that can still come from whatever, when you work through conflict to come to a better place, to come to a different place, to work through the difficulty, to come to a better place. And I feel that that's what we are all doing, is trying to come to a better place in the world, where we have better understanding of each other, better understanding of our commonalities, better understanding of what happens to one of us happens to all of us. And so we are all familiar with that. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote several years ago at one of the grieving places, or places of grief that's here. I feel in our community, I was thinking about Hisam and her idea for having a place to grieve. And I feel in Santa Barbara, we do have a number of places that we've designated as a place that we go to. So I think of the Rose Garden at the Mission. I think of Alameda Park, where people gather. I think by the ocean, when I think about where on Cabrillo Boulevard, where there's an art piece that's been created by the Chumash community in remembrance of all people. And I just think, and there's our churches, there's our synagogues, they're the places that we go. But to be able to gather out in the open, under the trees, and with our hearts linked with each other in common thought, I think that is really the power that we have. And the idea that we're reaching so many people who are watching this particular program, and that each one watching this program will in some way feel like they're a part of what we're doing here. So I wrote this poem some years ago at La Casa de Maria, which is also connected with Pacifica in many ways. And at La Casa de Maria, there's a circle that was created. It's called the Peace Circle, and it was created by teenagers who were having a conference there. And it's about the size of this circle, and it has stones all around the circle. And each stone has the name of a person on it, and each stone was created by and painted by one of the young people in remembrance of an elder or one of their classmates or someone who had passed away. So it is a circle of remembrance. And once when I was visiting the circle, I was inspired to write this poem, and I feel that this idea is of what we're doing today in terms of this grieving and having a space for grieving is part of a continuum, is the continuing tradition of grieving lost souls and souls that we know who have moved on to a different place. And it's called Circle of Painted Stones. Standing in this circle, we clasp hands, a momentary silence. Then, in hushed reverence, we honor each stone. We say each name. We hallow each memory. We salute our common grief. Gentle clover, beauty's emissary, encircles each remembrance. Here, among the memory stones, we consider the years they might have lived. We consider the hands that might have worked toward healing. We consider the feet that might have strode out of the dark tunnels into the light. On my hand, as if to guide it, a fly lands. Here, familiars congregate in disparate spaces. A crow babbles in unison with the sweet whistle of a wren, a duet of opposites. We, the gathered, speak a common language. We, the gathered, speak a common tongue, the language of sorrow and loss, and too, hope. Thank you.
Charles Williams is next. He's one of our amazing students as well. Charles is also a teacher of Capoeira and many other talents that I won't share right now. You have a poem and a song.
Yes, I do. It's a pleasure to be here, and I just want to give thanks for all the beautiful people, everything that we all sharing, and also for the lost souls and for everybody who's been a victim to violence, senseless violence, whether prejudice, whether racism, and discrimination. So may we continue to grow and heal with each other. What does the heart need? When the heart feels like part of the heart leaves, like branches that fall off trees thinking that part of it is still there, exposed and all it feels is a breeze when one part is still here, the other gone deceased, pain laid bare, feeling dis-ease from the disease of fear, searching for comfort as it grieves, untangling sorrow like weeds to reveal that it still cares, carrying weight of phantom limb, a reminiscent sound from a violin, a faint smell triggering recollection of her or him or them, wishing life for how it had been again, emotion stir like the growling wind to tend, to find peace in the blend of sadness and humor, a knowing that a goodbye isn't an end, but an invitation to meet again in the future. Let your heart find stillness in the raging waters of your being. Let it pour like libations, giving thanks for the moments shared and the sweet surrender of what is to come. So now I'll play a song. This instrument right here is called the berimbau. One of the significance of this instrument is that it is also a caller to spirits, calling in the ancestors, calling in the orishas, and giving honors for those that came before us, for those that are here now, and for those that will come after. Mande kaya meu sobrado, mande, 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 mande kaya de amarelo, caie, caie, caie. Meus amigos que são verdadeiros, vocês são filhos pra mim. Em vocês eu hoje me espelho, em nossa amizade sem fim. Mande caia meu sobrado, mande, 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 mande caia de amarelo, caie, caie, caie. Agudaço a capoeira do fundo do meu coração, pra vocês todos os presentes, eu desço essa canção. Mandei caia meu sobrado, mandei, 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 mandei caia de amarelo, caie, caie, caie. Yay. Achei.
So we're ready for a floor. We wanted to have a little bit of joy at our closing. And we're so pleased to have Jessica Haro with us. She's been dancing around in the wings as we've been giving these offerings. And she's going to dance a flamenco. She is a teacher and dancer in Santa Barbara. I'm going to invite everyone to participate if you want, while we will take down the notes that are hanging in the tree, and Charles and Santos are going to play a little music while that happens.
Grief is a natural response to loss. I believe the unforeseen tragic circumstances during the pandemic have created a shared experience of suffering that activate and deepen humanity and empathy toward one another. The virtual Grieving Tree event has ended tonight, but our project will continue by sharing people's suffering and their healing journey through stories and art on our website. Thank you.